Hello and welcome in once again to the Red Zone. I'm Alex Campbell. And for the second week in a row, the Cardinals offense put on a spectacular showcase, setting records in the process, and the defense, with a combined effort by the starters and second team, delivered another shutout. This coming weekend, they'll take on Washington University in St. Louis, who are also undefeated both in CCIW play and on the season. I'll discuss all of that with head coach Brad Spencer and also be joined by the Cardinals' dynamic duo of defensive ends, seniors Dan Gilroy and Tyler Rich. But first, let's take a look back at the Cardinals' victory over Millikin, in which they somehow found another level of success from their 70-point performance the week before. The North Central football team began the second half of their regular season at home against Millikin, looking to take the lead in the all-time series with what would be a 17th consecutive victory over the Big Blue. It was a perfect fall afternoon in Naperville, and the Cardinals were hoping to entertain their fans with an equally high-quality performance. It certainly started strong, with Ethan Greenfield running for 64 yards on the game's opening play, a sign of things to come on what would be a record-setting day. Terrence Hill picked things up from there, 16 yards for a touchdown, and the Cardinals led after just 2 snaps. The defense made an equally strong start, Dan Lester taking down Millikin QB Aiden Lombardo for a sack on the next series. The second North Central possession ended the same way as the first, a Terrence Hill touchdown run. Hill had 66 yards on 8 carries and the 2 scores. Meanwhile, Greenfield stepped back into the spotlight on the next drive, shedding and breaking tackles to once again put the Cardinals in the red zone. From there, Luke Lanin found Jacob Parody for the touchdown, Parody's second straight week with a score. Next drive, and again in striking distance, Lanin drops back and is flushed out of the pocket, but keeping his eyes downfield, he uses a pump fake to create running room, and with a little help from a Rory Hills block, he was into the end zone to make it 27-0 Cardinals. No change for the Millikin offense, as this time it's Angelo Cusimano slinging Lombardo to the turf. Then it's another big run for Greenfield, this one 28 yards for the touchdown. 174 yards on 15 carries and this score on the day for the program's all-time leading rusher. Still in the first half, and Lanin finds Parody for another touchdown. The sophomore wideout continuing to be the #1 target of the day for the Cardinals' passing attack. The defense ended the first half with authority, 3 sacks and a 4-play span to close it out, 1 from Dan Gilroy and 2 from Dan Lester. The Cardinals had 6 as a team in the game. Second half, and Lanin finds Parody again for their 3rd touchdown connection of the day. 6 catches for 95 yards and 3 scores, a career day for Parody. But the passing game wasn't the story of the game, as the Cardinals rushed for a program record 591 yards on their way to a record 776 total yards of offense. Joe Sacco running this one in to stretch the lead to 55. And much like last week, the defense sealed the shutout with an interception, this one by Jerron Williams. All Cardinals all the time in this one, 65-0 the final score. Head coach Brad Spencer is at the helm of a team with an offense that leads all of college football in points per game and is second in Division III in rushing yards per game, and a defense boasting back-to-back shutouts, allowing just 7.5 points per game on the season. But both units will face their toughest remaining test of the regular season this week against WashU. Brad, welcome back to the show, and congrats on yet another win.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
So I think we have to start with the rushing record.
Yep.
Almost 600 yards on the ground. Fair to say that you guys went into this game with a commitment to try to control the game with the ground game.
Yeah, and if you can do that every week, you're going to be in a good position, but we certainly wanted to establish the run game and on defense, stop the run game. If you can control the football, that's kind of the recipe for winning games once we start to get a little bit colder, it's snowing, it's raining. And fortunately, where we're at as a team right now, both sides of the football are able to do that. But really proud of the guys. We had some new guys step into roles on the perimeter on offense and on defense, and guys really stepped up and did a nice job Saturday.
A unit that was intact, however, was the offensive line, and at least to the eye, this was maybe, I think, their most impressive game of the season. How would you describe the level that that unit is playing at right now?
Yeah, extremely high. They're getting on people, they're blocking people. Our running backs are running really hard. Certainly having a quarterback that can run and is the fastest guy on the field most games helps. But yeah, it was, statistically our highest output on the ground, and I guess we would have been over 600 if we wouldn't have taken a couple of knees at the end, or if we didn't have that penalty going into the end zone. Certainly we want to eliminate those. But the guys are doing a great job. They're really buying into being our best each week, getting 1% better each week, and we head into this game feeling like we're prepared, we're ready to go. Each week for us is a conference championship game, so we feel like we're ready.
You mentioned new guys on the perimeter on offense. We talked about Jacob Parody last week. Well, we have to talk about him again this week as he hauls in 3 receiving touchdowns. No D'Angelo Hardy in this one, and Jacob really stepped up into that leading role.
He did. He stepped in and did a great job. I was really excited for him. He's been playing his best football the last couple of weeks, really starting with that Wheaton College game. Played his best game of the year, and then with some guys down, 3 receivers down this past week against Millikin, he was able to step in, and he did it in the run game and the pass game. We really ask a lot of our receivers in the run game to block, and he's been an example of that really for the last couple of weeks, and it was the same this weekend, and it showed. You saw it on film with some of our longer runs. Those guys did a great job.
I mentioned that it seems like the offensive front is playing at their highest level yet this season. I think you could say the same about the defensive front, the defensive line, and then the 2 linebackers, BJ Adamczyk and Angelo Cusimano. And it feels like the 6 sacks in this game kind of reflects the level that group is at right now.
Yeah, they're doing phenomenal, and Danny is having a great year. He's a wonderful football player, an even better young man, and he's going to get CCIW Player of the Week this week on defense, and deservedly so. 3 sacks. Half of our 6 sacks, and then the linebackers, again, another interception with Zach Orr getting an interception at the nickel position this week. Really proud of those guys, and you can see that Angelo and BJ are really starting to come into their own. They're better each and every week. They're tough. They haven't missed any practices, haven't missed any reps, but it's paying off for them. And then the defensive line, of course, is just phenomenal. We feel like we have one of the strongest defensive lines we hope in the country, and so far they're playing that way.
Speaking of interceptions, for the second week in a row, it's an interception by a player on the second-team defense that ends up sealing the shutout. I think I asked a similar question last week, but what does it say about the effort and the application of that second group that they keep making plays like this?
It says a lot, and we saw it on both sides of the ball with some players down. We preach every single week that our standard is the standard, and next guy up mentality. We prepare the same every single week, whether it's the first string player or the second string player. And you're talking about Duran, he did a great job. He actually switched and played a little bit of a different position this week, moving from corner to safety. Part of it just wanted to try and get some skill and some talent out of him and put him on the field, but also out of necessity. And we saw him, save that shutout, which was great. Jamar Daniels at corner, he almost had a pick 6 in a backup role. So, both of those guys and really Jake Brock stepped in, Will Vernon stepped in the secondary, and really did a nice job for our defense to get that second straight shutout.
So this week, a rare occurrence, you are facing a fellow undefeated in WashU down in St. Louis this weekend. I know you guys try to treat every game the same, but is it fair to say that, at least for the players, this weekend's game will have a bit of a different vibe than the last 2 have had?
I'd like to think that they're going to treat it the same way. You'd have to ask them, but certainly in our meeting rooms and in our offices, we treat every week the same. But our guys will be locked in. They know what we're walking into. It was a similar situation last year, week 9, going down there, playing for a conference championship. This week's a little different because it's week 7. It's not week 9. We still have 3 weeks after this week, and so do they. But we'll be ready to go, and I'm sure they will too. They're a really good football team. They're posting some really big numbers on offense, and then on defense they're solid. They do solid things. They're going to make you work. They're not going to give up the big play. They're in the right spot. They're smart football players. They're well coached in all three phases. So we have a lot of respect for them, but we're really excited to play them and go down. It's always a good trip, and it's great to play a good football team.
You mentioned that they're putting up good numbers on offense. They're stifling on defense. They're second in the CCIW in both scoring offense and defense, only behind you guys in both categories. Without giving any game plan notes away, what's something that you feel like they do really well that's going to present a challenge this weekend?
I would say efficiency. They're just on offense. They're efficient. Their guys are in the right spot. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. They don't make mistakes. Their quarterback does a nice job distributing the football and not turning it over. And then on defense, as you said, they do a good job stopping the run. They do a nice job in pass. They have some really good football players out there. You can tell that they've done a great job recruiting since they came into our conference, and their coaches have their guys ready to go, and they're playing at a high level.
It's time, as we do every week, to check the tape with Coach Spencer, and once again a week with no shortage of plays to choose from. But Coach, we're going to start with play number 1, and obviously the headline here is Ethan Greenfield running for 64 yards. But there's some phenomenal blocking on this play as well, both at the line of scrimmage and then further downfield.
Yeah, I mean, anytime play 1 can be an explosive for you, you'll take it. But a big focus this week coming in was our perimeter blocking by our receivers, especially with a few guys being out. And you saw it right there, that Jacob Parody and Rory Hills were doing a great job downfield. Of course, our offensive line up front in the box did a great job springing this thing. And then Ethan and his vision and his ability to break tackles, got this thing going. But take that play 1 anytime you can get it, right?
Absolutely.
And then you see Luke down there trying to get in on it, and John Michael Scumaci, of course, coming across the field too. But yeah, the guys on the perimeter did a great job this week, and like I said, it was a huge focus coming in.
Second play this week, Dan Gilroy gets a sack in this game, and it felt like this was the best performance from him this season. His first step, maybe the quickest in this game it's been all season.
Yeah, Danny looked like Danny here. It was really great to see. Each week we've been able to get him more reps, more practice time, and more game time. So it seems like he's starting to play his best football when we need him to as we come down the stretch, because we're going to need him this weekend for sure.
And then finally, I've thought of Joe Sacco as mostly a scat back, but man, on this run, he runs through some people, he spins around some people, and to see him run like this is a reassuring sign for fans who might worry about what does the post-Ethan and Terrence era look like.
Right. We've talked about it before. We have a deep running back room, and Joe Sacco is part of that. Joe's a phenomenal high school player. He was the player of the year in that league, never came off the football field at St. Ed's. And he's extremely strong for his stature. He's one of the fastest football players we have on the field each week. But that was great to see. He'll certainly be somebody that down the road will continue to use and continue to use his speed. But he did a great job there.
Well, it should be an exciting game this weekend. I know a lot of the fans who usually turn out at Benedetti Worley Stadium will be watching very intently to see how you guys do down in St. Louis, hoping to take a very big step towards another conference championship. So head coach Brad Spencer, thanks as always for coming on the Red Zone.
Thanks, Alex.
Opportunity is everywhere. It is in everything and within everyone. Your opportunity is at the center of all that we do, so that you can exceed your personal best.
Welcome back to the Red Zone. In their 5th years on campus, Dan Gilroy and Tyler Rich are once again causing havoc in opposition backfields. And the need for opponents to focus on them is creating opportunities for their fellow defensive linemen to make plays as well. Dan, Tyler, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
So 5th-year seniors, you guys have known each other a long time. The defensive line unit has known each other a long time. How would you two describe the friendship you guys have built over the years and the whole way you guys as a unit have grown together over your time here?
Yeah, it's nice being able to play next to people that you've known your entire college career. You know, the second we got on campus, we were hanging out with each other. So it really makes it that much easier when we're on the football field.
Yeah, it's really nice to have brothers everywhere, and I have two of them in my house, Brandon Greifeld and Dan Lesser, so it's really nice seeing them every day and getting prepared for practice and game days.
So speaking of coming back for a fifth year, which I alluded to, it sounds like it's not much of a thought for a lot of guys. They really want to be around the team. They're really excited for this. For you guys, was there any kind of particular reason you really wanted to be back with the team this year? Dan, I know when we talked at the Stag Bowl, you weren't 100% sure yet if you were going to be able to come back.
Yeah, last year I tried to not really think about it at all. I just wanted to play football, be there in the moment, and not really worry about the future. Once the season ended, I really wanted to come back mainly so we had another opportunity to go win a national championship, and especially so those young guys that maybe didn't get to experience it in 2019 could see what that felt like. Because that was one of the best moments in my life, and I'm sure Tyler would say the same thing. And that's something that I really wanted the young guys to be able to experience.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. I didn't really think about it too much last year, and then that loss in the championship, it really just left a sour taste in my mouth, and I wanted to come back with the brothers that I love and the game that I love, and so it was an easy choice to come back.
And it seems to be going very well so far, and I mentioned that it seems like opponents are really focusing on you guys. Clearly, stopping you guys coming off the edge has been a point of emphasis for opposing offenses, but one of the domino effects of that is a lot of quarterbacks and opposing running backs are being put right in the laps of Dan Lester and Brandon Greifeld. How do you guys feel about that dynamic, that maybe your tackle numbers are down, but theirs are up?
It's really cool that you can't really game plan for one or two guys because across the board, talent levels just up there. So it's really cool being able to see, especially, Brandon, I played next to Brandon all last year. He, wasn't really making many plays. And it's really cool to be able to see him and Dan Lesser both be able to get in on a lot of tackles this year.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see, and especially, they take on the double teams every single day, so it's really awesome to see them succeed.
From last season to this season on defense, your guys' group, the defensive line, is really the only thing that didn't change, save for Sam Taviani and Nick Rummel, respectively, with the linebackers and the defensive backs. Has that created any sort of extra responsibility on your guys' unit to step up this year or put you guys in any more of a leadership role?
I would say we knew that the people who were going to be playing on the field on Saturdays were going to be ready. There was no doubt in my mind that the people that were behind us were going to be ready to go. I feel like the biggest thing for us was just trying to set the standard in practice and in meetings, showing people how they should be approaching meetings, how they should prepare for games. So that was one of the biggest things that I tried to take on going into the year, was just getting young guys ready to be able to play on the field.
Yeah, it was mostly just like a lead by example and trying to communicate the most of what is expected out of the young guys, and they've been doing a really good job at doing that. So.
And the unit does seem to have really come together, back-to-back shutouts for the first time since Brad was a senior captain way back in 2003. How would you guys describe the progress that the defense as a unit has made over the first 6 weeks of this season?
Yeah, it's there's still a lot of things that we need to fix. One of the biggest issues we had on Saturday was cleaning up the scrambles. So we know we have plenty of things we need to fix moving forward, but things are definitely trending in the right direction.
Yeah, the trend is going up, and I think it started in spring ball. BJ and Cusimano, one of the things we wanted to focus on was communication. They're being really loud back there right now, which helps us out a lot. They're having a lot of confidence.
So going into this week, you're taking on WashU. You guys as a team lead the conference in points per game on offense, also lead the conference in fewest points allowed per game on defense. WashU are second in both. How are you guys viewing what is basically a de facto CCIW championship game, even though we're only in week 7?
Honestly, just trying to approach it the same way we've approached every other game. Like Coach Spencer said, every week we're trying to prepare like it's a national championship game. So hopefully come tomorrow when we have practice, nothing's really going to be new. Different game plan, different people we're playing against, but process should hopefully stay the same.
Yep. Like coaches say every week, it's us versus us, so we just got to do what we do throughout the week, and Saturday will take care of itself.
So as you guys probably know, on the end of these interviews, we always like to lighten it up a bit, do some more lighthearted, not necessarily football-related stuff. So first this week, you guys are both pretty tall, both listed at 6'3" officially, I believe. What's a pro and a con of being as tall as you guys are?
Yeah, I'd say the pros is you can reach the top of the shelf at the grocery store, and in large crowds you can see over everybody.
Yeah, I was thinking along the lines of concerts. Like if you go to a concert, you can pretty much see over everybody that's in front of you. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I've definitely been on the receiving end of that experience of thinking I've got a great sight line at a show, and then just some giant dude stands right in front of me. It's like, really, you could have stood anywhere in the venue and it's right in front of me. Yeah. Any particular downsides, or is it all kind of positives?
I would say one of the downsides is small cars. It's a pain to get in the back of small cars. Not a lot of knee room.
Yeah, I was gonna say small cars, like you said, and then especially the bus rides that we go. Sometimes the knee space can get pretty limited. Or like sticking your hand in like a Pringles jar.
I think that's tough for just about anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine it does not get easier when you get bigger.
Yeah.
So Halloween is coming up, and just like last year on the show, we're going to get into some Halloween-themed questions. So this week, what candy were you guys most excited to get when you went trick-or-treating as a kid?
I'd say for me it'd be the Reese's Pieces. I like peanut butter and chocolate, so that was my go-to.
Pieces rather than the cups or the pumpkin-shaped ones?
Yeah, eat it like Skittles.
Yeah, I was gonna say Reese's peanut butter cups. I like the cups.
Yeah, that was me as a kid. That's same wavelength there.
Yep.
Cups or the holiday-shaped ones?
The holiday-shaped ones, those are so much better.
It doesn't make any sense. They just
Yeah,
are.
I don't get it, but definitely the holiday shapes are better.
And then finally, sticking on the fall theme, what are your guys' general opinions on pumpkin-flavored things?
It's overrated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really drink any pumpkin flavored drinks, so no, not really my cup of tea.
Do you go for the classics though? Like, are you pumpkin pie guys at all, or just not really about the whole thing?
Yeah, not a
really.
huge pumpkin guy in general. I like pumpkin seeds, like toasted pumpkin seeds. Those are pretty good, but not much pumpkin.
Yeah, well, hey, to each their own, I suppose. Yeah. Well, guys, this has been fun. Great talking to you guys. Congratulations on the season so far. Here's to several more wins ahead. Tyler, Rich, Dan Gilroy, thanks so much for coming on the Red Zone.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
NCTV-17 is the place for all Naperville area high school football action, covering all 6 local teams. Whether you're a student athlete, parent, or just a fan of the game, stay on top of what's happening in your hometown high school football scene. Sign up for Football Friday today to get all the action delivered straight to your inbox on Saturday morning. Subscribe for free at nctv17.org/subscribe.
It's time for this week's Red Zone play of the game. Given that the Cardinals set a program record with 597 yards on the ground, it had to be a rushing play, and we've picked out the touchdown run by Ethan Greenfield. In particular for the devastating hit he delivered on his way into the end zone. Part of a 15-carry, 170-yard performance for the senior running back. Take another look at the burst of speed and then the strength to send both the defender and his helmet flying as the Cardinals soared away from Millikin. That's this week's Red Zone play of the game. That's all for this edition of the Red Zone. Thanks as always to head coach Brad Spencer and to Dan and Tyler for coming on the show. As discussed, the Cardinals are on the road this week to take on WashU, but check out the North Central YouTube page and nctv17.org for highlights the next day. There are still plenty of Cardinal sports in action at home this week. Men's soccer, women's soccer, and women's volleyball are all in action, so check out northcentralcardinals.com for all of those contests. We'll be back next week with another episode of The Red Zone. Until then, I'm Alex Campbell. Thanks for watching.